Welcome to another episode of Scrap and Ink TV. I'm super excited today to talk to you about one of my favorite things in digital scrapbooking, and that is clustering. I love good clusters on layouts. As you can see with the photo that we have here, this was one I did for another video a couple of days or maybe a week or so ago, where I used two kits to combine to make the cluster, to make the layout. But part of it I used that main cluster on the side that is a freebie on my website if you want to go look around for it. It's still there and available. And then I added a few things to it, but the base of it started out as one cluster. And I just love that you can create so much depth between the shadows and the different layers that you use these elements for. And I want to kind of share some of the tips and tricks that I use to create the clusters that I have. So what I decided to do, so we're going to start over here with this page in white, and the whole video may be going faster. A lot of these steps may be going faster than I'm talking. The reason for this is that as I started to make this, I realized that it could take 15 minutes, 20 minutes to show you all of the steps and adding in the cluster, partly because it just takes time to open each different file and do the different things, but also because my computer doesn't work as fast when I'm recording. So it was taking a really, really long time. So what I've decided to do is I went through and I created the cluster, and that will go through in fast motion. And then I recorded separately talking about the different tips and tricks. So what I'm talking about may not completely match up with what's going on the screen in front of you as you are seeing the cluster process happen a little bit fast motion. But I think you'll be able to get the general idea. So a couple of things, I always kind of build from the bottom up. I think about, what paper I'm going to have on the bottom, and then I usually add some sort of paint splatter to it because it's just one more way to get a layer in there and give color and variety and make it come alive. I use paper pieces. I'll create circles and squares, and on the video, for the sake of hurrying up, I just saved them as one layer and then did one paper over them. But if I were really doing the layout for myself or the cluster, I would put a different paper on each paper piece that I made. I use a lot of the little greenery types of things to stick in and out around places. Frames. I use frames as back pieces, not necessarily how they are intended for, and I do use them as a frame, but I love a paper frame twisted and turned and just corners of it peeking out. Again, one more way to add dimension. Journal cards, I do the same that way, little tabs, ribbon, and then flowers build from there. The paper scatter can be fit in there. And as you'll probably notice, as I'm adding this, I kind of start big, and my cluster might seem really big. And then as I go, and I might put something in and then take it out later because it just isn't coming together. I like to start with more, even if I end up taking some away. It just never hurts to try it out and see how it all fits and then take away from there. But you'll notice as it all begins to come together that it ends up smaller and more compact than what I started out as. And that is just kind of how it happens. Now, with this, I would, of course, add in pictures and move things around to add those pictures. It's great to be able, because there's so many different layers, I could put the paper or the pictures anywhere, squeeze it in anywhere, and you can even use multiple pictures. I will be doing another cluster video using pictures to show and how to use multiple pictures in a cluster to tell your story. But this is kind of just a general idea of some of the different ways that I cluster. Duplication. Duplication is a great asset An easy, quick way to do that is if the layer you're wanting to duplicate is active, you can click Alt or Option, depending if you're on a PC or Mac, and then just move it with your mouse, and that item will be automatically duplicated. And you can make it smaller and move it around, keep it the same size. Lots of different ways you can go with it. So that is what we've ended up with, and I hope this was helpful.